Here it is, a 2 to 4S Tiny Whoop micro drone build video. Probably the world's first. We'll go in depth on build instructions, programming, and I've done a ton of testing. See how fast it goes, how durable, how long it can fly, how much weight it can lift. Can it fly with a full-size GoPro? We're gonna find out. Let's get to the build. Starting with the Meteor 75 Pro frame that I got here for around $6. I decided to go with a slightly larger frame because this isn't a true 75 millimeter. This measures at about 80 millimeters and does a 45 millimeter prop. This will just give us a teeny bit more stability compared to a true 75 millimeter for the insane amount of power we're gonna put on this bad boy. These are known for being super durable. And like I said, I think I got it for around $6, so not bad. There's the frame we're going with. Woo! We have got these motors, XM1103 motors with 8,000 kV. Show you here. Comes with the bolts to mount, which is a huge plus. Nice looking little motor that I can plug straight into the flight controller, which will be super nice if you ever need to replace them, which, let's be honest, we're all gonna burn out motors and you'll need to replace them eventually. So that is a huge win. And they're rated up to 3S. I could not find any rated up to 4S, so we'll do 3S for now. Might just end up trying to plug in a 4S later. The brains of the operation, the flight controller, which this thing is so cool. And let me read it to you real quick. Let's dump it, dump. This is the GHF 435 all-in-one IPEX. This thing is insane. It's like the same as a past video I've done, the $65 build, except it's rated for 2 to 4S. So 3S will totally be fine on this little guy. It has a built-in ELRS receiver. It does not have a VTX, so we'll need a separate VTX. It comes with battery leads, an XT30 plug, which I think I'm gonna have it use a BT plug instead. And then you've got these little motor plugins that will mount onto the board so that we can just plug and play. Has a capacitor, has your built-in ELRS receiver antenna. This is the Yasido Attacking Chicken frame. It's kind of funny looking, but it is ultra durable and pliable. I love the 3D printed material on here. It's the exact same one I used for another build, and it comes with these mounting screws. Check that out. That is gonna be absolutely perfect. I'm gonna run 3 1S batteries in series. These are 380 milliamps, so it actually has a decent amount of capacity for a 3S on something this small. Just mount in like that, and whoo! Throw in the charger here. This is the one I always recommend. Super simple, costs about $5. You can charge 6 batteries at one time and then plug it into a USB port. You can run it either at 0.2 or 0.6 amps. With these batteries, I would recommend 0.2. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but it'll save your batteries. And I love the Zeus Nano VTX so much that here is all it comes with. That I bought it again for this build. Mount right on top. I know it all fits. The 350 milliwatts of transmission power is perfect. Comes with some wires. We'll use this antenna. It also comes with an adapter, but it's pretty heavy. I feel like there's no need to use it. Then you get some cool little stickers we'll throw on somewhere. Real quick, we got some Gemfan 45 millimeter props. Not much to say about them. They're tri-blade and I think they'll work great. Boom. Here is the camera. It is the Runcam Nano 2 FPV camera. Decided to go with this instead of the Caddx Ant Nano, which is the cheap version. Cheap one I usually use. I wanted to try something different. This costs about $5 more. Pre-tariffs, it was 15. Now it's like 20 bucks. Still not too bad. Looks pretty nice. Comes mounted in. I think we'll have to solder. I don't think it plugs straight in. Nice little cap here. On here, there are 3. So we're gonna have to drill our own motor mounts in, which should not be hard at all. And this costs like $3. You're gonna need some goggles, I've been running the SkyZone 040 Pros and love them. And I'll throw up a couple pair of box goggles I would recommend. You go super cheap with it, or you can get the Eachine 800 goggles. And then here is the Radio Master Pocket, which is my favorite transmitter. And actually, it's the only one I actually own. Works great. I feel like I don't need to spend any more money. Has all the features I need. First thing I like to do is make sure everything fits together great. I wanted to make sure my motors would fit on here all right. I drilled a couple holes and it looks amazing. I'm going to show you how I did the next one. First problem I came up with was this little ridge, and I just used a flathead that I had sanded down to make it a little sharper to scrape it off there. Wasn't too bad. I know, kind of ghetto, but you just work it. Just finish scraping these flat. Wasn't too bad. Go, here we have it. I grabbed the 1.4 millimeter drill bit. And what I found is, so you find the two holes pointing inward, and you want to drill just above it, basically touching it. And it is okay if they're basically touching. That's what you want. And then you're going to drill pretty much even with this guy to either side. I always recommend buying a kit of bolts because you're always going to be losing bolts, always going to need new ones. The ones we used here are the M1.4. Voila. They are all mounted. First one was a little rough, but after that got the hang of it, and I think it looks great. I've come to another problem, sadly. This just doesn't quite fit down into the frame. Simply do a little bit of sanding to these edges and it should slide straight in. Not going to need these nubs here. And we'll drill the larger size for the other frame I'm putting in. Sanded these sides down, so now it slides right in. I'm going to use a 1.9 millimeter drill bit to drill these out. Holes drilled out. Not going to need this cage. Time to get some gummies that will space out the VTX and the flight controller. You put the VTX on top, then the canopy, and bolt it all in from the bottom. Just need a couple kits so you have extra gummies and extra bolts. Now I'm showing you here, I cut out those little supports, as you can see. Pretty easy, just snip those off, and it allows room for the battery holder. And then you just screw it in like that. Before I get to soldering, I always take the flight controller, little micro USB there, hook it up, and then hook it to your computer. Make sure the micro USB cord is data transfer capable, and you'll connect to BetaFlight. Don't worry about this warning here. You can close out of it. Move your flight controller, make sure it's working. Go to update in the top right. After we do that, you can go to auto detect, and we'll see what board we have. JHEF F435. And I can see this one's already updated, but I'm going to go ahead and update it again just to show you how you would do that. Connect again, go all the way down to CLI, and then type in BL for bootloader. We'll put it in bootloader mode. That's how you update it. I see it is in bootloader DFU mode. And then click update. This time we can't use the auto connect. We're going to choose our board and type it in, JHEF 435. And we'll scroll down, go to load firmware online, flash firmware. This usually takes a minute, but it'll go through, erase, and then flash. And update finished. Time to solder. Here, this arrow will give you your orientation, pointing forward. I'm going to start with the battery leads and the capacitor. There is a negative and positive to the capacitor. We are going to get a thin iron tip because all of these joints are small. Add some to the iron and then tin the pads with your solder just like so. They are tinned. Going to put the capacitor on first by tinning the tips and then tin the tips of the battery leads. Put the capacitor on. I'm going to use a little bit of flux, which just helps everything flow together better, and simply solder it all together, just like so. After soldering any new connections, I use a smoke stopper here to connect a battery to the flight controller through that so that you don't fry your board in case you made a mistake. Green light means you are okay, red light means you made a mistake. Now I'm soldering on the motor plugs using flux so everything will flow easily. Just be careful that you don't bridge things together. Did one of them there, simply do the rest of them, and now I'm moving on to the VTX. Tinning the pads that I'm going to use, and then here are the colored wires in the way they're supposed to be hooked up. Again, I'm showing you the orientation and where I connected everything. Again, using these same methods, I hooked up the camera to the correct pads. With the soldering finished, simply just mount everything back onto the frame, get that VTX coiled up, mount your canopy and camera, plug in those motor wires, and ready to do BetaFlight programming. However, I'm going to leave that to the end and show you all the awesome test footage first. Quick weigh in here. 45 grams. And finally, some test flight footage here. This thing is so much fun. You can hit all the little gaps, do all the loops to your heart's desire. I also wanted to point out that I am testing this quadcopter in 2S and 3S configuration. This footage right here is the 2S configuration. The difference is a little less power. It's got 8,000 kV motors, so we're not spinning super fast, but more power than any 1S drone that I have flown. So plenty of power, 450 milliamp battery. I'm getting 3 to 5 minutes of flight time, so pretty similar to your 1S whoops. And this thing feels a little more stable, a little more user-friendly, and it is just super fun. You can still cut in and out of things and speed up real fast. Also want to say how durable it is. Took that tree like a champ. Now I'm going to show you some camera quality. We're just flying up and getting a good picture. So with any analog camera, if there's something in between you and the camera, you'll get static. But when you have line of sight, the video looks pretty good. Now I'm showing you how high it can go with this quadcopter before it statics out. Just keep going, and right about there, dive bomb down. I'd say that's a couple 100 feet. You can't go much higher legally anyways, so pretty cool, especially on a whoop. And here I'm just zooming around, trying to look like I know what I'm doing, but not the best pilot. Super fun. Definitely enough power to do anything that I want to do with it. Mostly just zooming around and having a good time. And then I'm going to show you how far out we can go. So with these houses here, my reception will be a little bit worse than if it was just an open field, but decided to just fly forward until I started getting too much static. And just going by the beach here, really beautiful. I'm up over by those houses. We're probably 200-300 feet away. And starting to get some static and decided to come back. And time for the 3S test flight video. Right off the bat, tons of power. Also, you can see tons of voltage sag, and that is due to the many connections I used. If you use just one 3S battery instead of 3 1S batteries and one connection, that would be a lot better. However, still tons of power. Would have even more power with less voltage sag. Super fun, but the problem being it is not beginner friendly, and I actually found myself liking the 2S build a little better. But still a lot of fun to fly, and it's cool that you can do 3S, and I'm going to do 4S in a future video. Here's a back-to-back acceleration comparison. This is 2S, and here's 3S. Fail safe the first time, we'll have to do a flat start. Here I did something pretty cool. I tested out a bunch of different battery configurations to see which one will last you the longest. I'm doing this indoor, hovering it so that there is no wind and temperature difference between packs to make it fair. I want you to pause the video now and guess which one will last the longest. The 450 milliamps 2S battery is the winner. Also thought it would be fun to see how much this tiny quadcopter could carry. So I'm measuring a bunch of different objects here that I'm gonna lift to see how many grams they are. Starting with 25, then there was about 50, 80, and 100 with the case, 95, almost 100 with the GoPro case. So the clip and the chain, 25 grams easy. Now for the 18650 battery. Now the real question, can it lift a full-size GoPro? No way! Here's the test flight footage of the tiny whoop with a GoPro. Never thought I would say that on 3S configuration, and it's flying it around, which is insane. It lasted about 1 minute and 30 seconds, so not too bad. Was a bit sluggish, motors got hot, batteries got hot, understandably, but like I said, I did not think this thing was gonna fly at all, and 1 minute and 30 with this GoPro is not too bad. The footage is absolutely amazing in my opinion. Super fun to fly around. It was sluggish. You have to stay 50% throttle to hover, but I did get a flip off, which was surprising to me. This is the end of the test flight footage and everything. Next we'll be doing BetaFlight programming. So thank you so much for watching. You should try this out because it was so much fun. If you're following along, I'm now going to show you how to do the BetaFlight configuration. We'll need to bind your radio and the transmitter on your quadcopter. Turn on your radio and then hit the system button bottom left. Then with the scroll wheel, click Express LRS. Scroll down until you see bind. Don't hit it yet and just be ready. Set that down. And then you're gonna plug and unplug your battery 3 times, leaving it in on the 3rd time like I show you here. That will put the quadcopter into binding mode and it's ready to be bound. So we'll click your scroll wheel on bind and your radio and quadcopter should bind. After that, hold down the return key and it'll bring you back to the main menu and you will see 3 little telemetry lines right there, and that means you have successfully connected. Now that we're bound, grab a fan as well to keep your flight controller cool. Make sure your batteries are all the way charged up. Plug in your quadcopter, keep your controller on, and then you're gonna plug in with the micro USB, plug into your computer and connect to BetaFlight. You'll see this morning. Don't worry about it because we're gonna calibrate right now. Go ahead and calibrate your quadcopter on a flat surface. Make sure to check your battery like I said. Now in ports tabs, we'll go through and make sure everything is connected right. In UART 1, we are using serial RX, and then UART 5 will be our VTX, and it is IRC tramp. So select that, save and reboot. We'll load back in, and then I'm just gonna double check the ports and move on to configuration. On the configuration tab, we'll just do a couple things. You can add a craft name or a pilot name, change the max arm angle to 180 because it'll let you arm at any angle this way, which is super nice. You can unclick anything else. It doesn't really matter because it should be set up correctly. And we'll save and reboot again. Keep moving down on that left side to, well, I like to double check things here. But we'll keep moving to the power and battery, which I will change up, but you're probably best off just leaving it how it is. It's kind of personal preference how much you want to run your batteries down. Some people say, I run my battery too much. Anyway, save after you've messed with that. And we'll scroll back over. Fail safe, you don't need to do anything there. Presets or PID tuning. But receiver will check. So if you should see movement when you move your sticks here. That's what I was checking. Make sure we're on serial UART and telemetry and crossfire. Now on the modes tab, we can add range, and we're on auto, so whatever button we hit on our transmitter is going to set as the arm. We're going to do aux1. This will be our arm switch. Then we got to pull that all the way over to where that yellow thing is so that it's within range. Add another range, and this is going to be aux2, which is little switch, and that you only need this if you want angle mode, and you'll make sure it's within range as well. Make sure to save it unlike me. Go to Motors tab, bottom right, there's a warning. Make sure your props aren't on, understand your risks. Now you'll be able to move the motors. First thing I like to do is test each motor real quick. Just make sure it is working. That's what these little sliders are for. So that'll turn your motors on if everything's working properly. And then after I've made sure each motor is working properly, I'll go through and reorder the motors and make sure they're going in the right rotation. So we'll just hit reorder. I understand risks again, start, and then click on the motor that is spinning, and it'll automatically order the motors the way they need to be. So easy as that. We went through and clicked the same ones, hit save, it'll reboot. We'll reconnect, go back to the motors because we need to do the direction. So we'll do motor direction here. I understand risks again. Do the wizard is what I like to do. And then start, and it's spinning all the motors. You can kind of touch them, but you just follow the little map up there. Make sure they're spinning that direction. You hit a motor and it will switch the direction in which it is spinning. And then after that, you can stop the motors, close, and you don't even have to save this one. And you can understand the risks again and test each motor if you would like to, but they should be spinning the correct way now. Now we'll go to the video transmitter. This in the past has been the most tricky for me, but device ready, true, yay. If it doesn't say it's ready, then you may have connected something wrong. However, first we're going to fill out the VTX table, and I'm just simply looking up BetaFlight VTX tables online. I will click into the website, and we'll find IRC Tramp. Click it, and this will have the tables we need. So you simply copy everything. Don't miss that top little bracket on the left. Go all the way down, and you're just going to copy it all. And we'll go back to BetaFlight after that. And we're going to load it from the clipboard, and it should populate. And we have all of our tables, which is awesome. Down below, we'll set the number of power levels. There are 4 for this VTX. And then you'll set the values here. Just follow what I put because I know it's correct. And we have 25, 100, 200, 350. And it's the same for each one. Click save. And you can go and put which one. So we're going to choose what band. You can put whatever you want. I like race band 1 for most of my stuff. Then the power level, I'll do 350. I'll just max it out. Don't worry about all that other stuff. Make sure to save it again. It should set us to 350 when we turn on, so it is all ready to go. And time to go to the OSD. Last step, but can also be painstakingly long. So don't forget to switch from HD to NTSC for analog. It'll be a little different format. And then you just add everything in there that you want. If you watch my screen, you can see all the stuff I put on here. And I'm going to speed it up a little bit because this part's kind of boring. And like I said, it can take a little while. So I'm just going through here, clicking what I want, and then you just drag it into place. Don't forget to hit save, and you're all done.